Well, a dangerous and developing situation on the East Coast. A major storm system keeps dumping record rainfall on the Carolinas, and it's not finished yet. The wind chill, though, -5, -6 right now, and you can see this heavy snow falling right now, this lake effect snow band, really dumping a lot of snow on the region. Now, Interstate is still waiting for a zoning variance to be approved for 2 of their 4 distillation columns. They both exceeded the 100-foot limit allowed by the city. One last tip, Tracy, since I think you're joining me after this next hit to come out here and help me. You're going to want to know this. You want to make sure when you're tossing that snow, you don't want to twist just at the waist. You want to pivot and give it the heave-ho. After several nursing home workers shared their stories of struggle, they marched through the city like they are right now over to the Public Assistance Office to demonstrate their point. Senator Bernie Sanders concedes to Hillary Clinton in the Missouri Democratic primary. The red-hot Republican race for the White House continues.
You're going to have to trust me on all those scores because we can't see them. Take it away.
I trust you, and I love those high-tech gadgets you have right there.
That's what we got. That's what we got to work with.
Thanks, Greg. She spent hundreds on legal fees trying to fix what she calls a slanted boundary between her home and her neighbors. About 2 weeks ago, bone fragments were found in a fire pit and along a tree line here at this residence. And now, today, we know who those bones belong to. I didn't hear anyone say, over to you, King Alex. So we're going to have to work on that for the next hit. I'm just letting you all know that. This is the dreaded spring forward daylight savings time where we lose an hour of sleep, unfortunately. Erie County Sheriff John Loomis takes a similar approach on the issue. He questions letting attendees at the convention have weapons inside that arena. While churches are currently exempt from the federal mandate, small religious organizations are not. They must provide birth control coverage. And Persico says that's why he's going to D.C. to make sure Catholic churches aren't forced to do the same. The Crawford County Drug and Alcohol Executive Commission says for the first time ever, addicts are choosing heroin, not alcohol, as their drug of choice.
The first time in our history, which has been since 1973. It had always been alcohol before, which makes sense. It's a legal drug, as it were.
Heroin-related calls in the city already up this year as compared to 2015, says the owner of Meadville Ambulance Services.
We're up about 40% from last year from overdoses that are dispatched. It also could be alcohol overdoses too, so that number is kind of skewed, but it's still higher, definitely higher than last year. It's probably almost double what it was 2 or 3 years ago.
For those on the front lines of responding to heroin overdoses, police in Meadville say the frequency rate is simply alarming.
Several years ago, we'd always have heroin overdoses, but it was nowhere near the scale that we're seeing now. You'd see them once in a while, but it was infrequent, and now it's, like I said, it's coming on a weekly basis. We'll see an overdose or maybe an overdose death.
The national trend clearly at play in the Meadville community.
This has created a variety of problems. As you can imagine, there is no quality control with heroin that comes off the street.
Dozens of tires, old furniture, random debris, and even a smashed-up television once littered the landscape in the 800 block of Marne Road on Erie's east side. Resident Alexander Arrington says the trash is dumped overnight and threatens the safety of kids who pass through to use the park directly across the street.
Been in contact with code enforcement down at City Hall trying to get this cleaned up for about a week or so now. We keep getting running around like the spring cleanup is coming pretty soon, but just an eyesore.
Arrington says the trash makes having neighborhood pride tough.
Pay property taxes just like everybody else in this neighborhood who owns a house, and there's just no reason why this stuff should be here.
There was confusion Thursday about which entity is responsible for the land. Regardless of ownership, though, Arrington says he contacted Action News to have his voice heard. After a few phone calls were made to determine who owned this property, the city's code enforcement department said they are indeed responsible. And as you can see, they sent out trucks while we were working on this story to clean up the site in a matter of hours. This trash heap now a distant memory. Joanna Testy and her husband were putting away Christmas decorations in this Erie attic last week when they noticed an old tattered box tucked away in a corner.
And he brought it down and I opened the box and this is not just some jacket, or formal wear. This is a wedding gown. I was thinking, I have mine preserved and I have to find the owner for this.
In just 2 days, she found the bride, Jean Schoen, and her daughter Joanne through Facebook.
I think that's phenomenal, that she took the time to do that. Friday morning, Jean was reunited with the dress she wore in 1950 at age 20, some 66 years ago. The gown no longer just a memory.
I was shocked when my daughter told me. I remember having it fitted, my mother going to town with me in Pittsburgh. The thing I remember about it the most is all the buttons down the back and the terrible time my husband had with it because I couldn't get it off.
It's the same old wedding dress, so that's the best part.
Also found with the wedding dress in the attic, flowers from the wedding, a garter that she wore, and even a memory book which shows the couple honeymooned in New York City.
Something as special as that, that's an heirloom. You can't just throw that away.
I was dumbfounded. And for her to do that, God bless her.